Middle toward the back.
Oh wow, that was specific, sir.
Yes, with the hand. Further back. Yes, you're standing up with a black coat, green shirt. Yes. There you go. Perfect.
Hi, it's actually my first time seeing you guys in person. Now I'm wondering why do you modulate the voice of the idiots?
Good
Can I get
question.
the story?
Sure, please.
All right.
It's that time of every panel.
Yes, you've seen this happen before. Many of you have seen this happen before.
I haven't.
We have an excellent, a few of you who haven't seen this happen before. Inevitably we get asked that question. It's an excellent question. So, way back when we first...
The question, please.
Oh, the question is, why do we modulate his voice?
You repeated the question.
Yes, so why do we modulate his voice? When we first started Extra Credits, I was sitting at my desk at Activision, and I get this email from a student at Savannah College of Art and Design saying, hey, I took one of your articles that, because I had been writing for like Edge and Gamma Sutra and these sort of things, really design-heavy articles for the industry for a while. But I'd really always wanted to talk to you guys, because in the end, what matters is not talking to ourselves, but talking to people who actually play our games. And so I get this email saying, hey, how do you pronounce your name? I used a lot of one of your articles for a video I'm making for one of my classes. And I told him, I was like, you know, I would love to see it when I was done. And a couple weeks later, I get this video, and it's just like that, right? I'm like, this is how we do it. This is how we can actually have this conversation. This is amazing. And I tell them, use any of my articles that you want to use. But this is a college project. How many of you guys are in college or have been in college recently? All right, great. So you guys know, like all college projects, this was getting done at like 4 a.m. And this is Savannah College of Art and Design. He's an animator, so they make you hit a very specific time. It has to be 10 minutes exactly. He's written about 10 minutes and 30 seconds worth. How do we fix that? Well, we can redo all the art. He was thinking about it. Let's just speed it up 10% and call it a day.
That is essentially the answer. Yes. Since we've started, it became an actual show and not just a thing I was doing for class. We've had the conversation a few times. Should we lose the voice modulation thing? Because I know some people are put off by it, and I used to pitch it up way more than I do. So if you've been watching for a long time, or if you try going back and watching the first one now, you'll notice it's super helium chipmunky, and the current ones are not quite so much. But one additional thing that I like about the higher pitched voice is I like that the little cartoon me has his own voice, because something I've noticed with commentators who put their face out there on camera is that how the viewer perceives them affects how the viewer perceives what they're saying every time. And like just your opinion of whoever it is that's talking kind of just affects a little bit how you receive what you hear. So having a little cartoon nobody guy up there and some cartoony goofy voice coming out of it that is not me, I feel like for a lot of people it helps them to listen to what is being said rather than paying attention to me or whoever else is saying it. So I think that is a little added benefit. And also it's just kind of a thing for the show now, and I don't think I could change it if I wanted to.
And we actually tried to take it fully away. We've done some test runs with it.
It looks really weird.
It feels really strange, right? Like all you guys know, everything by design, right? And this is a character that with this cartoony persona feels really weird with Dan's like normal low voice.
It totally does. I ran a test and it looked and sounded bizarre.
Totally uncanny. And so again, this is a voice that fits the character. But we have so many more questions.
We do. Okay, yes. Moving on. You sir with the hat and the phone. That helps holding a thing up. I appreciate that.
Oh no, now you're making everyone hold things up.
Yes, I am.
Excuse my voice. I've been talking nonstop.
It's day 3 of PAX. We're all lucky to have our voice. PAX. Did I say PAX?
Hello?
We have a cough drop. Do you want one?
Thank you so much.
feel like you're being tried by a jury. James, I was talking to you yesterday at the indie section.
Yeah.
You asked me if there were some games there that I'd recommend or
Yes.
really like. I told you some of mine, and hopefully all of you guys had a chance to try some of the stuff there. I wanted to know what you guys thought of what the guys had on display there.
Ooh, do we want to just go down the line?
I haven't unfortunately gotten to play a lot, but Particle Mace is very interesting. A very solid, well-produced game. Very good local multiplayer, which I really liked. And also, right next to them, which I got to play, was Extreme Exorcism, which is also just a very lovely, well-produced experience. I recommend popping by there at this. Actually, sorry, I don't even know. Is it open tomorrow morning? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Cool.
Was that the game with the like little blocks and you shoot each other?
That's all video games.
Well, no, like it was literally just little blocks and you would shoot and you had like a laser. Anyone know the name of it? What was it? Zarbot. Okay, well that one, I played a few rounds of that, and that I could easily get addicted to something like that. I don't know. It was great.
I really liked, I'm blanking on the name of it. Which one was the one where you're like the plane and you bounce off things? Aerobot. Aerobot. There you go. And the feel on that was just it really was. It was excellent. And so that's the one I'm going to go for.
Nice. I didn't get a chance to sit down and play any of them, but I do want to give another vote to Particle Mace, was it?
Yeah.
Because just watching people play that game, it looked like something I wanted to sit down and play. Hopefully they will still be here tomorrow, or late tonight. Okay, let's do another question. The shoe.
You really are going to get...
It's right here.
I want to know, like, concerning 2014, what do you think was the biggest failure, and what can we learn from this?
Ooh, biggest failure of 2014 and what can we learn from it? Sir, I'm looking directly at you. My eyes are boring a hole in the side of your head.
I don't want to. Are you referring to something?
No, I just want to see what your answer is. I'm very curious.
The biggest failure. You answer first. I'll think about it.
Dan, up to you.
You don't have an answer yet, do you?
I do have a couple, but I have one that I actually want to say, but...
Okay. In a very general sense, I mean, there are lots of specific games that did this, but there is a certain trend of AAA publishers, AAA developers putting in a $60 game some really, really money-grabby microtransaction stuff. And it's not that like DLC and microtransaction is inherently bad. We've talked about that lots of times, and there are lots of games that I like them for, that they're very, I think, respectful of the customer, but there are some that are very disrespectful and very, like just really trying to take advantage of the consumer as like rather than offering them like something that they can feel happy to buy and purchase.
We're all in unity of that belief.
Well done.
So my answer to this question of what the biggest failure of 2014 and what we can learn from it is something that may be the biggest success of 2015 or 2016. And I'm going to say the Steam machine. So months and months back, we had all heard so much hype about the Steam machine, right? And nothing, right? Really not very much. And it's a great idea in some ways. A lot of us have talked about how the consoles are probably moving to digital distribution anyway, so why don't we just bring in Steam? But they haven't cracked it yet, and especially they're trying to make a controller which replicates a mouse. And we've tried that problem before, we haven't solved it, and I don't know if you guys have seen the touchpads on it. Very interesting approach. A lot of good thinking there. There's a lot to learn about input devices of the future. But we're not there yet. I don't know if we need a Steam machine with the price of computers today, right? You can get a machine for $500 which runs most of the games that you're going to want to play. Maybe not at the highest settings, but they'll run them. Do I need a separate box to run those same machines? That's a market question that I really don't know the answer to, and I'm a little bit skeptical about. So Steam machine's my answer.
Kind of touching on what Dan said, and I'm not sure if it was actually 2014, but it was recent. H1Z1 kind of changed their policies on the fly, and they actually did, for I think a whole day, offered refunds if you contacted the company, which I think that's kind of like a red flag that maybe you should reevaluate kind of an action before you change your opinion on a game.
I had some like I was tossing around a few very specific examples of like games that didn't work for me, but I think it was getting too negative in my head, and I don't want to come up here, spread the hate, it's the love we got. So also a thing that I think that I thought was done very poorly in a lot of ways in the last year that I think could be used a lot better is Steam Early Access. I think that, yeah. I mean, the number, so like, you know how like several people will, like unconnected people will say a thing to you, which means that you know it's actually happening to like millions of people? I heard so many people, like other developers say like, oh yeah, my game's going on Steam Early Access. Why? I don't know. And it's like for a lot of people it was money. And I don't think that's the right reason. I think that there is a compelling reason for it, and I think some people have used it for that compelling reason. Having not done it, I don't think I'm a good judge of what is the compelling reason. But we've seen so many people who, you know, not only put this thing out ahead of when it should be shown to anyone, but in doing so they fracture the launch of their game. They're splitting their base up into two separate launches, and I know many people who, you know, have like when the game actually like came time to launch, like didn't get the boost that it should have, because why? It's already out. You know, what are you talking about? And that's in addition to a handful of things. But like I said, I haven't done it. I feel like there are a lot of ways that it could be done better than it is being.
And I just want to append one other thing to my answer. Ubisoft's response to the Assassin's Creed no female playable character debacle. I think there's a lot we can learn both about what we should do in terms of gender equality in games and also about how to do PR. So with that.
All right, let's do another one. I have started the video.
Here they come. Yeah.
You raised your hand like way early on, and then I called someone like right behind you. So yeah, you sir.
I thought that one of the most interesting things about the Stanley Parable was the ending where you had the museum devoted to the game. And I was wondering where that idea came from, but also for James, I was wondering what you thought of that, and if you think maybe that could be a good way in the future to start explaining the history of where games came from. A good way to structure that.
Well, James and my approach to that I think would be very different, because for James it's.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the question was, I don't know how many people have actually played the Stanley Parable, but there's an ending. All right. Well, for not you people, there's a section of the game where there's literally a museum that details many of the development milestones that we actually went through, and things that actually happened, and changes to the game that were made, and how certain things came to be, and that's. So the thing about it though is that it's not like we were just like, hey, I want people to know about how the game was made. It was kind of like very intentionally there to like pull you as a player out of the experience for a minute, and then actually after that you're like pulled very harshly back into the experience. And so it's not about like just a specific piece of information, but more about the transition between states of how we receive information. You know, you're in a certain mindset wherein a piece of information, oh, it means this very particular thing to me. I'm in a very different mindset. Oh, this new piece of information means something totally different. And usually we think of like fiction and documentary as being, you know, separate things that don't converge, you know, for the most part. And there's some, I mean, in film, I think a lot more than games, there's some very, very interesting interesting films that blend that line and do a really fantastic job of making you kind of wonder where exactly, like, is this actually discussing something real? And I would say that in the Stanley Parable, it was right to use, not because it was more important that people know about how the Stanley Parable was made than other games, but because the Stanley Parable is about shifts in perceptual mindsets. And so it was used as a mechanism, as a tool for that in particular. Which is not to say that it wouldn't be interesting to like also then have like a piece of downloadable content or some, I don't know, some just purely historical thing, which is, which I think is more interesting to you maybe. Or I don't know, I'm speculating.
So I think to each game, how it preserves its history is a function of the game itself. The reason I liked that in the Stanley Parable was because I felt like it was appropriate for the game, but one of the things I really liked about the museum was actually the fact that it showed people that it didn't spring fully formed from your head.
Yeah.
Right? I think that is actually super important, and about how sort of piecemeal and barely held together in some ways these things really are, right? But in a great way, which is the same deconstruction that Stanley Parable itself does, which I very much appreciate about it. So I think it was really appropriate for that game. I don't know if that particular approach would be appropriate for all games. I think there are many different ways of looking at this, even if it's just making available online every version in the version history rather than the final version.
Yeah, for us it suited the project, it was necessary. And actually the other interesting thing about that was that we filtered out, like there's a reason why the particular information is that's in that room is because we wanted to be revealing without spoiling stuff. So we were also in the service of the narrative. We were also in the service of, we don't want to spoil if you happen to have not seen a piece of content by the time you get here. So again, the fiction also has a say in what's going on. It's not just purely you're here to receive information. It's like this information is in service of an emotional experience or whatever it is that you want to call what you people do.
That was a good way. I really like how you hammered home that sentence. That was good.